Am I wrong for leaving all of my groceries at the register when the cashier refused to sell me alcohol? Abundance and Bounty are two supermarket chains, both with stores 20 minutes away from me and 15 minutes apart from each other. I, 33 male, usually go to Abundance unless I want something I can only get at Bounty, and I haven't been asked for ID when buying alcohol in over 8 years at either store, or anywhere else for that matter. I went to Abundance yesterday to buy my weekly groceries and picked up a 6-pack of beer to enjoy on the weekend. I set the beers down in front of my other groceries on the conveyor belt, then moved to the other side to start packing. The cashier saw the beer and asked me for ID. I told him I didn't have any ID on me, and he told me he couldn't sell me the beer and place it on the side. I politely said, "Okay, no problem, have a nice day," and then walked away, leaving all of my groceries on the conveyor belt. I didn't take anything. As I walked away, he shouted, "Excuse me, sir," but I saw no reason to waste time on continuing a discussion because he already made his decision, and I understand how strict they need to be when it comes to alcohol and ID. My mother worked in a liquor store for several years. To be very clear, I did not do this to get back at him, but rather because it meant I needed to go to Bounty to get the beer, and it didn't make sense to drag all of my heavy grocery items from Abundance to Bounty when I could just get the same groceries from Bounty, including the beer. I also figured carrying bags of groceries from Abundance around Bounty wasn't wise because it might raise suspicion of shoplifting. So I went from Abundance to Bounty, bought everything I needed from Bounty, including the beer, then went home. When I got back, my girlfriend asked why it took so long, and after explaining it, she said I was an asshole for making things difficult for the staff at Abundance, because they would need to restock all of my stuff and possibly throw things away. I don't know if the last part is true, but she knows someone who works in a similar store and explained that they're pretty strict on how long certain products are allowed to be outside the freezer and refrigerators. She also said it was extremely rude that I just walked away when the cashier was trying to talk to me. I asked what she would have done, but she didn't have an answer besides just coming home without the beer, but I don't see that as a solution. So, am I the asshole? Am I wrong for pre-gaming my wife's dinners? My wife and I are both 32. Since we got married and moved in together 5 months ago, my wife has simply not made nearly enough food for me. This is not the kind of situation where I'm constantly agitated at her for incompetence or anything like that. I would be more than happy to microwave a burrito. I would be more than happy to whip up a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But I can't. My wife has, every single night of our marriage, done the same thing. She'll make me a tiny dinner. I'm talking like a Chinese chicken salad with 30 grams of chicken and 10 leaves of lettuce arranged fashionably with dressing. When I finish eating, I'm still hungry because for a 230-pound man who works a physical labor job, it's not enough food. At first, I tried to openly communicate with her, but she always took it horribly. She would adopt a 1,000-yard stare and then begin talking about how incompetent she is and how she can't even make her husband a proper dinner. I try to calm her down with, "Oh honey, that's not the case. I just eat too much." Or, "Don't worry about it. I can make a bit more." I try to be overwhelmingly positive. It never helped. She would always just get incredibly disappointed in herself, cry, and/or take it out on me. And then she would make the same exact amount the following day. After the communication route failed, I tried to eat her dinners as is. It became hard to sleep at night due to hunger, and I lost 7 pounds in the first month. Eventually, I figured out my own system. On my way home from work, I started swinging by a fast food restaurant and getting myself a burger. I would basically pregame her meals with some more calories. I figured it was a win-win as what she doesn't know can't hurt her, and I could have my fill of food. I would eat on my way home, walk in the door, pick at the salad or quinoa or homemade mac and cheese she made, compliment her for her delicious cooking, and later dispose of the wrappers discreetly. 2 days ago, I was on my way home and in line at a drive-thru. My mother-in-law was coming out of the restaurant. She ran over and greeted me. I asked her in a humorous way not to tell her daughter where she saw me because she'd take it badly, and she agreed. But then she narked on me anyway. I got home to a furious wife who demanded details. When I provided the truth, she got extremely angry and looked legitimately hurt. I'm not good at handling confrontation and feel like I betrayed my wife in some way. Was I wrong here? My husband, 36 male, doesn't want me, 38 female, to use our IVF embryos because he doesn't feel ready to have kids yet. My husband and I have known each other for 12 years and have been married for the last 3. We started living together in 2016, and close to 2 years later, he lost his job and was working dead-end jobs for close to a year. We decided that he would take classes and get a trade so he can get a better job. I work in healthcare and make decent money, so I was okay to take over the bills. After he finished classes, he still had a hard time finding a job because of COVID. So overall, for the last 4 years, I paid for everything: rent, bills, food, everything. I want to have children. He knew this early in our relationship. He at the time said that he can see that happening for him one day, but not now. Because it was taking him a long time to get a job and I was getting older, I asked him to do IVF for embryo freezing. We did it last year and froze 3 embryos. 2 months ago, he started a job. It's not the best salary considering the price of things nowadays, but it's okay money. I told him I want for us to try and get pregnant now or use the embryos. He said he's not ready to have kids right now. I told him I don't really have any more time to wait, and even though we have the embryos, we don't know if they will actually work, so I really think we need to start trying. And also, there are very few men who actually get to a point when they can actually say that they are ready for kids. After several discussions and arguments, we came to the conclusion that if I'm not able to wait until he is ready and he has no idea when that will be, then we will have to get a divorce. He told me he doesn't want a divorce, but he can't get on board with having kids right now. If I end up not having children because of him, I will resent him greatly. And I feel that I put so much into this marriage and supported him when he was down on his luck, it's unfair to me to walk away with nothing now. At this point, I can proceed with an IVF transfer. There's nothing needed from his end. I am financially capable of having a child without his help, and my family would help with the physical load a little bit. He said he doesn't want me to use the embryos without his approval because he wouldn't want to have kids in the world and he's not a part of their lives. I do love him and I don't want to have to choose between keeping my marriage or having a child. But I very much do want to have children and don't think I can forgive him if he takes that away from me. While I don't want to force him to do something he's not comfortable with, I don't think it's fair that I should walk away with nothing after putting so much into the marriage and supporting him for all those years when he wasn't capable. My 59 female, son 34 male, is the one responsible for my granddaughter's 1 female death. I have no idea how to deal with this and move on with my family. I have 2 kids. My daughter's daughter passed due to my son's stupidity. My son Andrew married Alexis 8 years ago, and I by no means am a monster-in-law. Never have been. But Alexis is a nightmare. She is an anti-science, pro-Facebook science. She is awfully entitled and is sinking all their savings in some LMN scheme. And as such, they decided not to vaccinate their kids. They have a 10-year-old son and 6-year-old daughter. A month ago, my daughter Jenny came over with her baby to pick up some of her old things. She decided to stay for coffee and cake. Andrew and Alexis moved right across from us after the lockdown lifted. My husband and I assumed it was because they were planning on using us as free childcare. Anyway, as Jenny was over, Alexis rang the doorbell. Before I could even say hello, her kids came spilling in. They are nice kids, somewhat bratty, but they do have a heart of gold. I love them so much. But because of them not being vaccinated, I don't like having them around the same time as babies. I tried to keep things calm, but the kids had run upstairs to where Jenny's baby was sleeping and were cuddling with her. I managed to get them to come down, but they had been with the baby for a few minutes. Fast forward a few days. Jenny calls me in tears telling me her and her fiancé are in the hospital because their baby had a high fever and couldn't breathe properly. My husband and I hurried there. Then we spent the most excruciating 17 hours in the hospital that sadly ended with my granddaughter passing away. She had apparently caught whooping cough and her little lungs couldn't handle it. My daughter is absolutely destroyed. I had a stinging suspicion and called my son. I asked him if his kids had been sick. He said they had a nasty cough and a little fever, but that they had managed. I don't know what happened, but I lost it. I just started breathing heavy and crying hard and couldn't say much more but to say that his niece died because of him. He had been calling me and his sister, and we haven't picked up. He has come over multiple times and I have not opened. Tried to calm down and tell myself that it's probable that she caught it from someone else. Only that my daughter hadn't taken out my granddaughter to places with kids for almost a month. Maybe at a supermarket or in a walk, but my husband pointed out that it was likelier she caught it through close contact, and it is possible to catch it outside, but not as likely. I feel so mad, so angry, I don't know what to do. I love my other grandkids, and I feel like they're going to suffer with them as parents. How do we go forward? Jenny's never going to forgive Andrew, and I don't know if I can either. My ex-girlfriend got revenge on me, and I'm so broken. I, 25 male, have been with my ex-girlfriend Carly, 23 female, for nearly 10 years. We were high school sweethearts and we had a good relationship up until after she completed college. Adulthood has been putting strain on our relationship, so bills and finding sustaining jobs has been a challenge. We started arguing a bunch and just started overall being annoyed with each other's existence. We weren't sleeping in the same room, let alone being intimate. It was a tough time to say the least. We tried therapy and I felt like it wasn't working. I honestly wanted to be done, but I couldn't break up with her because we lived together and she helped me get out of debt. So I did something horrible and I started cheating on her with her childhood best friend. I thought she would never find out, and oh my gosh, I was wrong. Yesterday afternoon, I came home and she wanted to talk, and without hesitation, she jumped straight into it and asked me point blank if I was cheating on her. And I, of course, tried to lie, and she just starts laughing and says, "I knew you weren't going to admit it, but I was going to give you the benefit of the doubt, so now I feel less guilty." I confessed to her, and she just looked at me. She didn't have an expression nor speak. When I finished, she just laughed and told me that I would never forget it. Honestly, it's fine because Louis was over last weekend and we had a great time. My heart dropped to my stomach because Louis is my big brother. I just thought it was a low blow on Carly, given she knew how insecure I was about my brother. He's a golden child and literally always did things 10 times better than me. I'm stuck having to have some sort of relationship with him, and meanwhile, she can just drop her friend. My chest and heart have been hurting so much since I found out, and I'm so broken. I know I was wrong for cheating first, but if she knew, why didn't she just break up with me first? I called out of work because I feel like throwing up just thinking about it.